galing sa loob siguro ito. Mga rock. Ito lang sinungat yun. Pasok ang hamunay. Ano kaya yan? Anong animal kayo? Maliliit, ano? Ano yan?
They have some ones from like mammoths, the woolly mammoths, and also like some mammoth.
Mammoth? Alin dyan? Mammoth?
Maybe a baby mammoth.
Baby mammoth? Ayun o, baby mammoth daw. War mammoth. Siguro dito yun. Yan yung mga bone. Yung bone na yan. Ah, ito yun. Leg of mammoth. Ayan o, leg of the mammoth. Ayan o. Ayun o. Ayan. Gold yung socket. Ah, so meron talagang ano sa loob. May nakatira doon, ano? Prehistoric talaga, yan, no? Ano, anak? Talagang, wow. Colombian mammoth. Ito yun, ang laki. Molar. Molar ng mammoth, anak, oh. Laki. Ay, sobrang laki ng mammoth na iyan, oh. Sa mammoth. And look at that, ah. Wow. Do not touch animals. Okay, kambing. Kambing, and look at the leg. Wow, super. Alin? Yeah, ang ganda, oh. Oo. Ganda niya, eh. Ganyan yung cabin ito, oh. Ang ganda. May tubig nga. We'll see it. The thing is, but that's the one. The thing is, the thing is, the most ano ay flat na flat siya, pero may kuweba sa loob. Ayan ang mammoth niya siya, oh. Siya yun, oh. Saka, doon ako nag-ano, eh. Yung pala noong panahon na yan. Paso. Look at that. Oh, ganda, oh. Mga puzzles yan. Real puzzles galing doon sa ilalim siguro. Oh, ammonite. Ammonite pala siya. Ito, oh. Ammonite. Wow. Ang ganda, oh. Ano din, ammonite din siya. Beautiful. Look at that. Mga puzzles. Oh. Yeah. Oo, ayan. Wow. Punta na kami sa loob ng kuweba. 3:25 p.m.
Did they tell us to stop here?
The bridge, beneath the bridge.
Sa bridge daw.
Yeah, they told us to wait here.
Wait. Pero madilim sa ilalim. May nagailaw, eh.
Also ask us if we can get to the left-hand side. There will be a group passing by us on the left.
On the left. Dito daw kami sa, ano, sa left. Okay, sa left. Kasi naglalabasan na sila. Oh.
I just saw you. I just saw you. I tripped on just a bit. Not a gross thing, it's a good thing. We call it a cave kiss. It'll give you around 7 years of good luck, and they do add, so the more the merrier. Little fun fact about this entrance, it's not a natural entrance as you may have guessed, it's a man-made entrance. They constructed it for an easy way for us to enter to their cave, not super easy for us to make our way back up. You'll see why at the end. But until then, if you want to follow me now, we'll head into our cave.
Follow the leader. Siya ang tour guide namin.
We should get one photo.
Saan?
No, his camera.
Yeah, she's taking a picture right now, I guess. Lahat kami may gear. Kasi sayang yung mga opportunity na makikita natin doon sa loob. Oh, malamig sa loob. Wow. Alright. Natural yung ano. Natural yung lamig dinis. Masarap ang pakiramdam. Uy, ang ganda sa loob. Oh. Itong pasok namin, ang lalakbayin daw namin dito ay mag 1 mile. 1 mile from the opening all the way inside. Pero adventure ito, hindi pa ito yung may mga ano.
All right. Any of y'all were wondering if we will see a bat through our tour? We will. There's one. I'm circling my light first, and then I'm gonna point my finger at it right there. So if you want to feel a little bit this way, if you want to get a better view, you can. But this and all the bats in our cave are what we call tricolor bats. Now this one is not a baby. This is about full size. They only grow up to the length of your thumb, so every one of them is fairly small. When they're first born, they're only about the nail on your pinky finger. But don't underestimate them. They'll fly out of our cave at night, eat around 600 to 1,000 insects per hour, fly back in, and eat and digest that food during the day. But they're different than the bats in Austin. If you've heard of or seen of the bats in Austin, those are Mexican free-tail bats, different in 2 ways. One, those Mexican free-tail bats are larger than our tricolor bats. The second, those bats like being in larger colonies and groups. It's pretty rare to see more than one of our tricolor bats hanging out together. But if you see a bat throughout a cave, just know that they are all tricolor bats. So as we continue through, if you can make sure to watch us head right there for me, as the lights will get a little low.
Hindi ko halos makita yung bat. Pero naliit daw kasi. May bat palang ganong kaliit. Wow, look at that. Ganda oh. Ganda dito sa loob. At malamig siya. Ganda dito sa loob. Wow. Ganda dito sa
All right, y'all, so it's just a little cave procedure before we head in. Then we take some search and rescue pictures. If I happen to lose any of y'all on our cave tour today, I'll know and look back at the picture and I'll know who I'm looking for. I'm just joking, y'all. We'll be taking no search and rescue. But if anyone would like a picture, I can take it for y'all right now. No one?
I do, please.
Okay.
Can you take mine?
I'm sorry, I actually can't take it on your phone. This is the one place I can.
Oh.
Yeah, I apologize.
Sell them up front. Oh, no. Oh,
No pictures allowed.
okay.
All right, if we're all ready, we can head to the next one. You want to follow me now this way? Alright, also, if you want to follow me now up this way, please make sure you use that black mat and handrail for me. First two rooms will be fairly small compared to the others. I apologize.
The Marinduki page needs lights.
So this is the very first room in our tour. We call it soda straw balcony because of these delicate formations right here. These are called soda straws, and as the name implies, you can actually break one off and drink your soda with it, but I wouldn't recommend you do that because your mouth will simply end up full of dirt. Now all our formations start out as water going through decaying plant and animal matter, picks up carbon dioxide, which turns it into carbonic acid. So as that carbonic acid makes its way through the ground and rock, dissolves a thing called calcite within it, picking it up. All of that then reaches the roof of our cave, where the carbon dioxide actually evaporates, leaving only water and calcite. But the water can no longer hold the calcite, so it deposits it in a tiny calcite ring, giving us these formations here. Now, just like soda straws, these are hollow, but they can fill up with dirt, nutrients, and calcite. When they do that, they form stalactites, because they hold on tight to the ceiling. When water drips down from those, they form stalagmites, because they might reach the ceiling. Those two can come together. They form a new formation. It's not a super cool name like stalactite or stalagmite. We just call them columns. Another formation you'll see throughout a cave is what we call a flowstone. So flowstones are larger because of larger cracks in the ground, which allows water to come in much more quickly than the other formations, giving it a larger shape and quicker growth process as well compared to these other formations here. Now, our most important rule in the cave is that we don't touch anything. That's because a single fingerprint can leave around 10 to 100 years worth of oil damage on our formations. When said oils on our formations does not allow calcite to deposit, so it can temporarily and eventually kill its growth. But I do have good news for y'all. On the left-hand side is one stone y'all can touch. We call it temptation stone, and when you touch it, all y'all's temptations to touch anything else are going to leave your body and into the stone. So if you can make sure to watch y'all's head and step for me, I'll point it out for y'all and follow me now this way. Also, as we continue through, please make sure to watch out. There's going to be a puddle straight ahead and on your left-hand side. Watch out for that step and watch out for that puddle.
Whoa, looks like someone missing.
I wonder why this area has rails compared to straws. Did you see any bodies of water like this?
No, it's just dripping. See, it's watery. See? Wet. It's wet. Ay, it's wet. Ingatan natin. Oh, ito.
He's telling us to watch for our head.
Watch for the head. Basa yung ano. Basa. Ako madudulas. Madilim anak, hindi ko na halos makita. Tubig. Natuluan ako.
Where are we going? Back. I know what you get eaten by them. Guys, you're killer bat. Are they yours? I found. Dang. Oh, I feel water on my feet. I'm sleeping.
Andito na kami sa kabila. Malalim na malalim na. Malalim na kami dito. Wow, so beautiful. Ganda.
And the ice cream is dripping. I'm gonna take ice cream now.
Y'all can just pause and wait.
I think we hit a group in front of us.
Alright, now, so the rule is going to be a group moving by. Does anyone have any questions so far?
I guess. Yeah, take a picture.
Just going to wait.
Merong makakasulubong kaming group na pabalik. So, kailangang mag-intay kami. Busy dito. Busy.
Oh, wait. It's a.
Yeah, if you're with Brandon's group, just wait.
They said wait. They're okay. They said our group wait, so I don't know.
Go with Brandon's group.
Yep. I don't know where he went either.
Yung ulit. Yung
So another formation you'll see throughout our cave is what we call a drapery. They form from the ceiling just like stalactites do, but they form in a different water pattern. Easy way to think about why they form. Or to squeeze a wet sponge, you'd see water running down my forearm depositing calcite, would eventually grow down to a thin sheet, flag, or drapery. If you look right there, you can see a drapery right there. Most drapery will not be this solid white color. Most of them will have a stripe in it. We'll see some more later on. But just like stalactites, this formed a stalagmite, which it connected to, so we call it our drapery column. Now, my other tour guides actually prefer this. They call this the Texas-sized chip and dip, but me personally, I prefer rockamole. Not only will you see this drapery in this room, also see some fossilized coral reef above us. Now, this is by no coincidence because this part of Texas was completely under a shallow sea 125 million years ago. And so when aquatic life from that sea would die, their shells would actually sink to the bottom of the sea, and their shells were made out of calcite. So that got compacted by the water and sediment from the sea and turned into a rock. But not only did the coral reef fossilize, but some aquatic life did as well. If you look right down there for me, you see those tubular worm things, kind of the cylinders. Those are what we call trash can clams. Their technical term is Rudis bivalves, and they are prehistoric clams. Now they work just like a trash can. They had two parts. They had that long cylinder part, which was their body, and the second part, which was their lid. So they could open that lid whenever they needed prey and anything they needed, and close it as they saw fit whenever they needed to for defense and such. So as we continue through, please make sure to watch y'all step and head, and just take a note of this flowstone on the left-hand side as well.
Not all cats are cats. Where is it going? Where you puddle? Is that the bed?
I'm sorry if I can ask y'all again, if we can only take pictures, please. No videos, please, I'd appreciate it. Not only in this room, though. We just saw drapery, we'll see some more, but y'all may notice there's no formations in this room here. Does anyone have any guesses as to why? When I said our cave is wet, that just shows that formations are still growing because water is bringing in that calcite. Another type of sedimentary rock you'll see in here is what we call chert, more commonly known as flint. Does not look like it, but if you were to break it open, it would look like the flint you'll see right here. Another different type of sedimentary rock you'll see in here is what we call limestone. You may have heard of limestone. Now, it does not look normally like this. This is due to iron oxides, which give it this color. Easy way to think about why this happens is metal rusting. Iron oxides makes metal rust almost the same. Reminder, if I can ask you to stick to our left-hand side as we pass through.
Hey there, guys. How are y'all? Good? I'm doing alright. You guys having a tour so far? Good tour? Good? Yeah? Maybe?
Oh, good.
Cool. Would you guys say that if Tyler was not just a visitor? You guys have a good rest of the tour.
We're going to try to just fill in a bit more for me this way. This next room's going to be slightly larger, I promise. I'm sorry, if I could just try to fill in a bit more. We got a couple more people that can't really see. Thank y'all, I appreciate it. Anyone would like to come in the front if I can't see a bunch of room. Alright, if y'all can just take one step up this way for me. I'm just gonna, I appreciate it, y'all. Thank y'all. I apologize. This room is fairly small. The next room, slightly larger, will be slightly larger. Alright, y'all, I appreciate it. Now, when they were first discovering our cave, this is one of the very first rooms they entered that had formations in it, or noticed they had it in it. It wasn't the very first room they discovered in general. That's actually going to be our next upcoming room, but as I said, this is one of the very first rooms they entered that had formations. If you look right there for me, you can see we call it the ice cream parlor because of this vanilla ice cream cone right here, with 3 kids lined up for it. Even better than that, though, is the or the chocolate sundae right there. It's got some more kids lined up for that. And I just spoiled it, but there is a Texas-sized ice cream sandwich right there. Now, does anyone know what flavor that is right there?
Chocolate.
No, it's a good guess. I heard someone say it is definitely Rocky Road flavor. That's my last rock one, I promise. But not only can you see some ice cream in here, you can see some of the largest and oldest columns in our entire cave, but debatably the cooler column is our kissing column. Now, formations take around 100 years to gain a cubic inch. Cubic inch, just about the size of an ice cube. So we estimate this to be about a ½ inch gap. So it's going to take around 50 years for them to finally form in and kiss each other to form a true column. If you're wondering what this is right here, this is simply just mud. We call it cave peanut butter. This stuff they would go through constantly when they were first discovering our cave, and it was so sticky it would constantly rip their shoes off. So it's nice we do not have to walk through this day in our cave. So if y'all can please make sure to watch y'all's heads as we're about to go through Headache Alley, and make sure to watch y'all's steps as well.
Hey, good luck. Hopefully you don't get left down like this group did. I have to go get them.
Oh, no.
You guys are good though, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, sure. Just kind of hungry. So we're being gone for a week.
Alright, we are going to take all the parade. Please remember to watch your hands when we go back to our Headache Alley. Let's continue to find out why we call it Headache Alley.
So as I said, y'all, this is the very first room they discovered. They found our cave in 1963 when they were first surveying the land above us when constructing I-35, more importantly, the overpass for I-35. And so, to make sure that overpass was going to be suitable enough, they drilled 23 different times in the ground. 8 of those times they actually hit our cave. If you look right there, this is one of 8 drill holes they hit in this part of the cave. If you look right over here, this is another drill hole. We'll get a better view of it later on. So, they hit it 8 times. So, Jim Sampson and Jack Bingham wired their drill bit by 2 feet, drilled 33.5 feet through solid rock, and entered through this hole right here. It's a nice thing they landed in this room, as this is the second largest room in our cave. Not the first, we'll see the first later on, and we call it our discovery room. This room is cool as it shows we're completely under I-35 to this point. So if we try to keep it down, we may be able to hear a car or 18-wheeler going overhead. I'll point to the ceiling when I hear it. Hopefully y'all can hear it as well. I don't think we're going to be able to hear it. All I heard was the other group talking. We'll do it on the way out. But another fun fact about this room, it's nice they landed in this. It's the second largest. But they actually didn't have ventilation as the cave wasn't open for thousands of years. So they would constantly have to go up and down through that hole right there and get constantly fresh air. Now, as y'all might see, we don't need to do that. We have a ventilation hole, ventilation shaft, which we prefer. I'll show that later, but just keep that in mind when we see it. But if you want to follow me now this way, a few steps. So as I said, we'll see a lot of flowstones along our cave. This is one of the largest and one of the oldest in our entire cave. We know it's one of the largest purely based on its appearance. We know it's one of the oldest based on a core sample we took. We determined based on its layers it's approximately 400,000 years old, so it received the name of the flowing stone of time. Now, many of y'all may think it looks like a slide, which I would agree, but it actually looks even more like a slide after around 3 to 4 days of heavy rain. You can see water flowing up from here, all the way down this side into this pool right here. This pool is around 2 feet deep, but can hold around 100 gallons of water, and the water in this pool is around 98% pure or drinkable. Now this is a cool flowstone, I would agree, but maybe the cooler flowstone is this sumo wrestler eating a chocolate cupcake. Alright, so before we move through, I just asked you to take a note. If you didn't get a good view, that's that drill hole there. Just take a note of the divots in the ceiling for me as well. Continue to watch all step and use that black mat and handrail for me. know the drill hole. There's one right there. This is one of 8 as well. They hit this part of the roof as well. Now you saw that divot in the ceiling. Now there's a bunch of divots in this ceiling as well. This is what we call our scallop ceiling, and this shows that water was all the way at the ceiling at this point. As I said, the balcony faults allowed water to come in and weather the cave like that, but the ceiling did not look like this. This needed much more faster, more violent moving waves of water than it currently or previously had. So it all fell in through many natural openings and sinkholes into our cave. It would come in much more quickly, forming the ceiling like this. So these larger divots in the ceiling are from slower, longer moving waves of water, while these smaller divots here are from faster, much more violent moving waves of water. So now if you want to follow me a few steps this way, I'll show you all that former sinkhole. Alright, so as I said, this is a former sinkhole. Now before it was a sinkhole, it was the largest room in our cave. It was around the size of a football field, but all the rock and the roof couldn't support all that rock above it, so it all collapsed down, causing a natural opening in our sinkhole in our cave. So as I said, a lot of water would come in, help shape the roof as you saw. So since this part of the roof was closer to that sinkhole, it's got smaller holes from faster, more violent moving waters, compared to that one where the waters would slow down and be longer moving waves. But water not only go into the sinkhole, it would rise out in the form of humidity. As y'all can tell, it's starting to get pretty humid in our cave. So that humidity would rise out, make the grass and vegetation all around the sinkhole super good. Animals wouldn't see it though, and they would go to get the vegetation and sadly fall in the sinkhole into our cave. We found 44 different bug species, 11 of which are extinct, but over time, dirt, rock, and debris filled up that sinkhole, turning it into a debris cone. Debris cones are just sinkholes that get filled up with dirt, rock, and debris. So that's quite literally what you see here is just dirt and rock. This is Bone Sink 2. This is one of 5, many more recent, anywhere from 13 to 58,000 years ago. And we will be walking on the left-hand side of it. So just keep that in mind as we keep moving. Well, please make sure to watch us head and step as we head down to our castle balcony and use these flat mats and arrows. So not only will I be able to see it, but there is a bat right there. You'll be able to see it as we walk by, and it's pretty easy to spot. But in our discovery room, I knew we were under I-35 completely. But right here in our part of the cave, I know we're in the belly of it. And I know that because its belly button is right there. So this is castle balcony. Before I talk about that, I'm going to talk about what was down there below it. Notice how I said what was, because there's nothing now. But in 1997, this was completely filled with water, and the flooding in our cave was so bad, it reached these ledges right up here at those horizontal lines. So they ended up closing inner space caverns for 6 months during that time, but we don't predict we'll ever have that happen again. If we had a lot of flooding or rain come through, we predict the flooding will recede to this ledge right here. In 2007, it did exactly that as well. So if the kids want to get up front now, I'm going to be telling a fairy tale just to make sure everyone can see and they can see as well. We're going to be looking out this way. You don't have to, everyone can see already. Is everybody all set? Okay. Alright, so how does every good fairy tale always start? Right. Once upon a time in a cloudy land far away, there was a king and a queen and a beautiful daughter. They lived in a very beautiful castle and they overall had a pretty good life. But the king was very protective over his daughter. He said no one can marry her unless I retrieve my magical golden sock full of gems and rubies. You're probably wondering why no one went up and grabbed the sock. That's because it was guarded by a fire-breathing dragon. So no one went up to the challenge. Until one day, Prince Charming comes along. He says, I'll do it, but I need some help from R2-D2. And for 2 days, they fight the fire-breathing dragon and eventually retrieve the king's magical golden sock full of gems and rubies. The king was so happy he allowed them to marry his daughter, built them their very own beautiful castle, where they had 4.5 beautiful kids and a sheepdog named Rex. The end. Alright, so we're about to go through short man revenge, so make sure to watch y'all's heads there for me. Continue to watch y'all's step and use that black mat as we approach our animal wall.
Yeah, especially I think more Buddhist than nothing else.
Dragon. Dragon.
Man wants to take a photo of us.
Hurry up, we can't fall back behind too far.
Okay.
Let's go catch up with them.
Yeah, that's fine.
We don't want to fall back too far like that. We're lost now. Somebody do something. Somebody do something.
The snake's back there, guys.
Gosh. So then if they pass by, we can fill back in. Just while they're going through, a little fun fact about this cement wall. We are walking on a round bone sink number 2. It is on the other side of the cement wall, and it's also the reason they built the cement wall. They're constantly would get the dirt and rock filling this hallway, so they got annoyed with it, built the cement wall to keep it out. But they deemed the wall pretty boring, so they painted some of the animals they found in our cave. If you look right down there, that is the giant brown sloth. The one they found in our cave was around the size of a black bear, however, they could get up to the size of a Chevy Suburban. This is a glyptodon. They look just like armadillos, but they're pretty much not even related. Their shells are pretty large, as they can get up to 4 to 5 feet tall at the max. This right here is the equus, pretty much a prehistoric horse, not too different than the modern day horse. The only notable difference is the size, as the equus could only get up to the size of a pony. This right here is the black-tailed prairie dog. Besides the white-tailed deer, they're the only ones on this wall that are not extinct, and they pretty much haven't changed over thousands of years since they were around and around today. This is the saber-toothed cat. Paleontologists actually believe they would come in through many of the sinkholes and natural openings and raise their young down here in the cave. This is the peccary, or the most commonly found bone in our entire cave. Around 85% of the bones we find are peccary bones. Probably thinking they weren't super intelligent. I'm here to tell you they were. They didn't have super good eyesight, so they'd be following their leader. They could barely see him. He could barely see, and he did not see the sinkholes. Many other animals did, so he would fall in. Not knowing that he fell in, they would continue and fall in as well. So the moral of the story for all y'all is you never follow a leader. Y'all can all follow me up this way now. I know I'm going though, I promise. So just like the equus, the prehistoric camel isn't too different than its modern day counterpart. We just believe they did not have a hump, as there was enough resources for them back in the time, not the modern day that is in the desert. Now the king of our wall is our Colombian mammoth. When I say mammoth, you probably think of woolly mammoth. This guy was actually larger, as the longest tusk they ever found for him, around 16 feet long. They could stand on their shoulders at around 14 feet tall, or the top of a backboard on a basketball goal. Now as we continue to make sure to watch us head and step, and if you'd like to, you can take a look at some of the fossils we actually found in our cave on the left-hand side of this display.
This is the whole speakers. It's the signatures. No, you didn't see too. Yeah, I see. Yes, he does. That's cool. That's the camel. Yeah, how much weight? This is all the animals that found the last. What's this one? Colonial mammoth. It's a big mammoth. Stands straight up. Not very tall. It's a bone. Mammoth with bones. Baby mammoth bones. Tusk. Tusk.
The unfortunate critter that fell in.
Yeah.
Alright, well, so as I said, bone sink number 2 would have been the largest room in our cave, but it's a brick cone, as I said. So this is now our largest room in the cave. We're in Inner Cathedral, and if you look right down there for me, you can see one of 5 excavation sites that they used from 1965 to 1970. Now these excavation sites were fairly successful in finding bones, but the bones weren't successful in fossilizing due to the humidity and overall water levels in our cave. So any bones they ended up finding they left, is if they were to try to pick one up, it would simply crumble in their hands. So if you look right down there for me, you can see a baby mammoth leg bone. Does anyone happen to know what bone this is right here, or fossil? Is that part of a mammoth tusk? If anyone wants to guess what bone this is, probably going to have a hard time because it's not a bone, it's just a rock. But another real eye-getter in our room is this ladder right here. So we do not use this ladder anymore, but they did used to use it as an easier way to go into the cave than the discovery room hold. So they would bring in the cement and wire when constructing the lights to pay way for us during our tours. But it's not in use anymore, but still does have 2 uses. The first is ventilation. So as I said, they would constantly have to go up and down and get good air from the surface. This leads 40 feet into the surface still, so that is natural daylight in our cave, but it does provide us the ventilation and the good air we need. The second reason is it shows we fully walked under I-35 or the overpass for it. So if you were to take a left out of inner space and take another left to merge north onto I-35 heading right, look out to y'all's right-hand side, you'll see a metal shack. That's actually where this leads. So we're on the other side of the highway now. So as we continue through, make sure to watch y'all step for me and that black line. You can see it, and now follow me this way. going back and saying everything. Alright, so our cave was named in the 1960s because of a space race that was taking place between the United States and Russia. So the owner of our cave, as many people did, saw a lot of that on TV, heard it on the radio, read it in the newspaper, so he thought he could capitalize on some of that media attention, so he named his cave Inner Space Cavern. John Maytel, that name ended up sticking. He used to name this room, and a bunch of other rooms, after space and such. He named this room Lunar Landscape, but that name did not stick. We changed it to Imagination Station because of some of the cool things you can see. If you look right down there for me, you can see the Titanic with Jack and Rose on it. But they didn't hit an iceberg this time, they hit a Sphinx, which took its nose off. But there's no need to worry. Grandma's coming in on our battleship to save the day. But they really shouldn't have been worrying about the Sphinx at all. They should have been worried about the Megalodon shark. The Megalodon shark actually wasn't worried about them at all. He was simply worried about the corn dog on Donald Duck's foot. Now we saw drapery column earlier. Not all drapery will look like that. Most will look like this right here. This is what we call cave bacon because it looks like bacon due to that stripe. So this is a cool piece of drapery. But in my opinion, the better piece of drapery is this very beautiful bacon butterfly right here. So earlier I said we were walking around, or we will be walking around bone sink number 2. But now we were is the proper term because we fully have. If you look all the way down there, you'll see that is the end of bone sink number 2 by that light. We fully walked around the football field size debris cone. So if you had bone sink and debris cones, feel congratulated. We fully walked around it. Just don't turn around for me because right behind me is bone sink number 3. One of 5 many more recent as well. Not as large as bone sink number 2, but it's still a bone sink nonetheless. Now before we leave this room, I know our first room is known for its soda straws, but I think this room should be as well because it has some of the prettiest and oldest soda straws in our entire cave. So now follow me a few steps down, make sure to watch our step for me. So, we call this room our Lake of the Moon. You look out there, you'll see some pools of water. That water is 98% pure, the same purity from the flowing stone of time water. Different water, obviously, but same purity. It's called Lake of the Moon, though. If you look on your right-hand side, you'll see a crescent moon-shaped pool. That's just why this room has its name. This room is also cool for 2 reasons. The first, it shows we're 70 feet below the ground, which is the lowest we'll go on our entire tour. Our cave's lowest depth is about 90 feet, so we're really only 20 feet off of that. Second favorite part about this room, we're going to demonstrate a thing called absolute darkness. When I turn the lights off, it's going to be absolutely dark. 1 of 2 places you'll be able to see it. One being here in the cave, the second being at the bottom of the ocean. In my opinion, this one's a lot easier to reach. So I'm going to ask everyone to get in a comfortable position or to find a seat for me. As I said, I will be turning the lights off soon. It will not be for very long.
Is this water drinkable?
This one will be as well, yes, sir. All right, is everybody all set? So I'm going to ask everyone if you have a phone, if you can just lock it for me super quick. And if you have a watch that lights up, if you can cover that for me as well, just to make sure there's no light in here. Turn your flashlight. Thank you. All right, everybody.